All right, today we're jumping into Syed Qutb's amazing commentary on what is, hands down, one of the most complete and powerful stories in the entire Quran, the story of Joseph.
You know, the Quran itself actually calls this chapter the best of narratives. So why is that? It's not just a good story. A Syed Qutb's analysis really shows us its true power comes from its timing, its unforgettable characters, and its incredible message of hope when things seem completely hopeless.
To really get it, we have to start with the context. The meaning of any story is so often shaped by when it's told. And this one, well, this one was revealed at a moment of absolute crisis.
Qutb points out just how critical the timing was. The story came to the Prophet Muhammad during his year of sorrow. I mean, think about it. He had just lost his two greatest pillars of support, his uncle and his wife, Khadijah. He was feeling isolated, he was grieving, and the pressure on him was just immense.
And so right at that moment, God sends him the story of another prophet, Joseph, a man who faced trial after trial, betrayal, slavery, prison. It was like a divine message saying, look, you are not alone. Others have walked this exact path of suffering, and they made it through.
And this brings us right to the heart of the story, Joseph himself. Qutb presents him as this perfect model, a humble servant, whose faith wasn't just something he had, it was something forged in the fire of adversity.
And we're not talking about just one test. The story throws a whole series of crushing, escalating trials at him. He's betrayed by his own family, sold like property, faces this intense psychological temptation, and then gets thrown into a dungeon for doing the right thing. Every trial is designed to be worse than the last.
Qutb pays really close attention to that trial of temptation. He makes the point that this wasn't just a fleeting moment. Joseph spent his youth in a palace, a world of total luxury and moral corruption. The pressure wasn't just external, it was a constant, grinding, internal battle.
The way the Quran describes this moment is so stark. But Qutb points out that this crude, direct invitation, it wasn't the beginning. It was the climax. It was the final, desperate move after years of scheming and subtle attempts at seduction.
So this really sets up the central conflict. On one side, you have what Qutb calls the awesome guile of the women, which really represents this powerful, corrupt social pressure. And on the other, you have Joseph's unwavering integrity. It shows his faith wasn't just some abstract idea. It was a real, tangible anchor that held him steady in a storm.
Okay, so let's shift to the story's emotional anchor, Joseph's father, Jacob. He is just this incredible figure of immense sadness, but also of just unshakable, profound faith.
I love how Qutb paints this portrait of Jacob because it's so human. He's not one-dimensional at all. He lives in this powerful duality. He's a loving dad, completely consumed by grief. And at the exact same time, he's a confident prophet who trusts in God's plan, even when he can't see it for a second.
You can feel this tension right from the very beginning. As a prophet, he sees Joseph's dream and knows it's a hint of some divine destiny. But as a father, he has this gut-wrenching protective fear for his favored son because he knows just how jealous his other kids are.
And then there's this moment, years, many years after Joseph is gone, where he just cries out in pure anguish. It's such a raw, human moment, and it shows you that his pain never faded. For Qutb, that profound sorrow is exactly what makes Jacob's patience and trust in God so incredibly powerful and so relatable.
And that, of course, brings us to the ones who started this whole drama, the brothers. Their part of the story is a timeless warning about one of the most destructive emotions we have.
Qutb breaks down their sin into a clear progression. It all starts with the poison of envy. That envy grows into a wicked plot where they actually debate just how far they're willing to go. And it all ends with this cold, calculated deception, complete with fake tears for their father.
But their crime doesn't just disappear. It becomes this massive psychological burden that haunts them for years. It leaves them, in Qutb's words, weak and confused. That guilt follows them everywhere, and it shapes everything they do from that moment on.
Then comes the moment of truth. Years later, they're humbled, they're desperate, and they're standing in front of this powerful man in Egypt, begging for help. And in that instant, it clicks. They are forced to confront not only the brother they betrayed, but the incredible man he became in spite of them.
So, what do we take away from these three journeys? The prophet who endures, the father who waits with faith, and the brothers who are full of remorse. Qutb argues that they all point to one single overarching message in the story.
Qutb's analysis really breaks it down perfectly. Joseph is the model of patience through trial. Jacob is the model of trust through sorrow. And the brothers, they show us the destructive power of envy, but also the path to redemption.
So here's the crucial point. Even when humans are plotting, and even when everything seems bleak and totally hopeless, there's a bigger, divine purpose unfolding. The brothers thought they were getting rid of a problem, but what they were actually doing was setting Joseph on the exact path to his destiny.
This is the ultimate paradox that Qutb identifies. The thing that started it all, that traumatic, horrific act of being thrown in a well, is the very thing that leads to Joseph's rise to power and his family's salvation. The hardship wasn't an obstacle to his victory. It was the path to it.
And this leaves us with a final question to think about. Qutb frames this ancient story as a direct, personal message for a prophet in his darkest hour. So it invites us to ask, what do these stories of trial, patience, and divine will mean for us, right now, in the middle of our own modern challenges?